So I have been getting a lot of DMs lately about how to start a private practice. It's obviously something that they don't, at least in my med school, they didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about it in residency. And it's a shame because not everyone that graduates from medical school is going to end up working for a hospital or a large HMO or even joining a group practice. So in case you are interested, this is how we started a private practice. And we actually bought a practice from a retiring physician, and for that we needed a lot of money up front. And if you're starting your own private practice, it's the same thing. You're going to need a lot of money up front, especially in ophthalmology. The equipment's super expensive. It's not just an exam table. You have all these slit lamp machines and phoropters and indirect ophthalmoscopes, and everything costs a lot of money. So I just wanted to talk about what we did to secure that loan. So the first thing, even though we developed a relationship with a local bank, and I would highly recommend that. I think local banks are much more, they're going to be a lot more open to supporting a local doctor or whatever you may be, rather than the larger national banks. I had tried larger banks like Citibank and a bunch of other ones in Boston and got turned down because obviously I had 1 year of salary as an attending physician. My husband was graduating from his fellowship, so we had very, very little savings, which we had just spent on our wedding. So when we moved to Hawaii, we had a relationship with one of the local banks, and then that's going to help, I think, because they'll view you as a person as opposed to just a spreadsheet of numbers. But you still need to do the work. So even though we had this relationship, I still had to put together a business plan, which was really scary sounding in the beginning. And I did it in my off hours. It took like a month during the last year before I moved out here. But it's something I ended up being really proud of. And I think it's a really great thing to do. It's a great way to think through the business and what you're hoping to achieve. It's basically like a roadmap of how to structure and run your business. So I found it a really good exercise for me to actually do in addition to the bank needing it anyway. And it's important for a loan because it demonstrates to investors that they are going to get a good return on their investment, that you've thought through some of these things. So mine was 30 pages. And it was nice because the banker that was handling our account actually told me that it was the best business plan he had seen by a medical practice to date. So that was kind of a nice compliment. I used a software called Palo Alto. This is not a sponsored video or anything. They have not given me anything for free. But I just found it super helpful. I think it's like $100 or $150, and it really just steps you through all the different components of a business plan and just helps you put it together in a concise and meaningful way. So I would highly recommend that, or something similar. I'm sure there's like a bunch of different programs out there now in the last 10 years, but that's what I used, and I found it really, really helpful. So the first part of a business plan, we did a traditional business plan, obviously, which is much more in-depth and detailed. There's something called a lean business plan too, which is a lot shorter, but I think it's good to go through the traditional business plan. So the first part is the executive summary. That is kind of discussing basically why are you going to be successful. It has your mission statement. It talks about your leadership, your employees, your location, what's your competitive advantage. It highlights your strengths. And it's basically a snapshot of your company. So in ours, I had our mission statement, which came from our motto, our Ohana, caring for your Ohana. Ohana means family in Hawaii. And since my husband and I are related, we wanted to treat everyone like family. And so it was our family caring for your family. And from that, we crafted our mission statement. I outlined our specific keys to success, given our fellowship training, that we were coming from the East Coast with excellent skill set surgically as well as medical diagnostically. So kind of that's what you want to put into your executive summary. Then comes a company description. So what market are you serving? We purchased a practice, so I gave the history of the company, Honolulu Eye Clinic. That was actually a name that was given by Dr. Edwards, who started the practice back in 1985, and I put all that history in the company description. I talked about his gross revenues, his structure, And then I also detailed the proposed changes that we planned on instituting, such as an additional ophthalmologist. He was a solo practitioner. He employed one optometrist. We were going to now be two ophthalmologists with an optometrist. I was creating a pediatric waiting room in a space where he had an aesthetic laser, which we didn't purchase with the practice. So those proposed changes I put in our company description. The next component of the business plan is services, and that's basically for people that are physicians, dentists, wherever. That's your professional service. What type of surgeries are you doing? The types of patients that we would care for. So in that, I detailed that we were a cornea and a pediatric ophthalmologist. We would be doing cataract surgery as well as pediatric surgeries and adult strabismus surgery. And I detailed the different types of patients we would be caring for, as well as our surgical range. I also included in this area for services that we were planning on continuing the optical shop as well as the contact lens dispensary, enhancing, broadening the aesthetic services by doing Botox and fillers. So all of that kind of goes into your services. What are you providing? Then the next component was a little scary because now, all of that's kind of a summary and seems pretty realistic for us to be able to do. Then the next segment is much more in the marketing business realm. I don't have an MBA. I took one marketing class at Duke, which I did get a good grade in, an A in, but still. And I enjoy marketing, but it was not something 10 years ago that I had any idea of. I mean, I was a salaried employee at Boston Children's. That was not something I had to even worry about. The name was big enough. So the next component is the marketing analysis. You need to research your competition. How many physicians in your specialty are in the area? Perform a zip code analysis, and you can even just Google it and you can figure out how to do it. But basically, you want to look at the different zip codes around in your area, where you're drawing your patients from, in your target demographic, and all of this information is available online. You can figure out the age ranges. You can figure out, so my target demographic for pediatrics is obviously age less than 18. For my husband, his is cataract patients. So his target demographic is more like age over 60 or 65. So we broke down the percentages of the population. There's 4 other pediatric ophthalmologists. It's kind of an oversaturated area. Those are the things you want to hit and to consider in your marketing analysis. And it's important work to do so you know who and what you're up against. I mean, maybe the area you've chosen to open your office is not the best area because there's already 10 other rheumatologists in the area. I mean, those are things to consider, and they come to light with the marketing analysis. Then I did a really short little web plan summary that how we were planning on changing the website. And then the strategy and implementation. How were we going to implement all of these changes that we had discussed? The next component is organization and management. And again, coming basically straight from an academic salaried position, I had no idea about this. But this is basically how will your company be structured, who will run it. You want to state what kind of corporation you are. So you want to talk about this with your accountant or your lawyer. Most physicians have an S corporation or C corporation or an LLC. And you just have to talk with your accountant and figure out what's best for you. We have an S corporation. That's just what our accountant had suggested at the time. Then you also in this segment review the personnel, the salaries, how many techs, receptionists, ancillary support staff you're going to need. Are you going to outsource your billing? Who's doing the management? Who's on the board? Who's the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer? You need all of those. So actually, come as no surprise to you, even though just my husband and I, as the 2 co-owners of our clinic, I am both the president and secretary, and my husband is the vice president and treasurer. And so all of that was detailed in the organization and management. And then I had a small section that detailed and described marketing. How are we going to attract and retain patients? So you have to consider what techniques are you going to use if you are opening a private practice to gain new patients. And, gone are the days of like yellow pages and TV ads. I think that those are obviously not that current anymore. So we did things that were more personal because we were trying to reach the other physicians in a personal way. So we had an open house. Right when we started, we invited all 300 doctors in all 3 physician outpatient buildings that we were in one of them, and there was 2 others. So we invited everybody and staff as well. Obviously not all 300 showed up, but we had a good turnout. And that was a great way for people to get to know us. when I first moved to Hawaii, since the practice we purchased was just a general ophthalmology practice, it did not have pediatrics. I went around to the main pediatric practices in the area, and I brought the staff and them lunch, and I just popped in and said hello and just got sandwiches, like nothing expensive, but I think just that effort to go and meet them face to face, because people are going to refer to you if they know you, at least in a smaller community like ours. If you're in a bigger hospital, then they would just refer because I was the ophthalmologist at Boston Children's. But now I had to prove myself. And later, of course, when you actually have a reputation, then they will refer to you because you do good work and you pick up on maybe some diagnoses that other physicians miss. But in the beginning, they're going to refer to you because they think your patients are going to like you. Nobody wants to refer to a doctor that their patients are going to come back and say, oh my gosh, that doctor you just referred me to is horrible. They don't want to do that. So it's good to put your face out there. And then the last part, which was super difficult for me in the beginning, was the financial projections. What was the startup funding we required to just start our business, and to cover the salaries and the loan payments, the break-even analysis, profit and loss statements, balance sheets, cash flow. Those were all words I'd never even heard of before I started doing this business plan. And the software really helped me through, and then just Googling everything. Later, now I'm knowledgeable about those because I do our books, but at the time I just bought every kind of little accounting book for dummies that I could find, just to get some kind of understanding about those words and what they mean, and then also so that I could really look at what we needed financially, so that we would ask for enough money so that we could stay afloat. We didn't draw a salary for the first 6 months that we moved here, and that was included in that financial projection. So that's a little bit of what I did in this opus of our business plan. Please feel free to comment below if you have any questions, and I hope you enjoyed this little video. I will post more soon if you guys are interested in more private practice kind of pearls. Thanks.